In the early days, we talked about a process called pivoting, which is simple at its face. In other words, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. And that's a wonderful thing, because as you have that contrasting life experience, what you do want is formulating in a magnificent and sure vibrational environment. We call that your vibrational reality. We began calling it your vortex, your vibrational vortex, because we want you to feel the realness of the gathering of vibration around the things that life has helped you to know that you want. I don't want poverty. I want abundance. I don't want sickness. I want wellness. I don't want rudeness. I want niceness. I don't want confusion. I want clarity. But the thing about that is in the moment of the experience, which is making you most aware of what you don't want, you are creating the other end of that vibrational stick. Because a really, really, really good problem, while it is becoming, causes a really, really, really good solution to come simultaneously and in proportion. Your new desires are born in an absolute commensurate fashion to your problems. If you've got a really good question, a really good answer is formulating. That's what creation is. That's what you knew you were contributing to when you decided to come into this body to begin with. But the thing that is important for you to understand is that while you are moving through the contrast of life and acknowledging, really creating, and really improving, you might say, which sounds weird, improving your problems, which means growing them, getting them bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger with more definition, you are also simultaneously creating the growth, expanding solution to that. But humans don't know that. The source energy part of you is reveling in everything that you are creating over here on the solution end. But you usually are over here so determined that you are going to solve this problem, that you are going to wrestle it to the ground. You're going to identify it. You're going to discuss it with others. You're going to join groups about it. You're going to compare it with other problems that are like it. And while that is all really good for the universe at large, while that is really, really good for what's happening in your vibrational reality, which you could find alignment with if you knew what you were doing, it's usually not so good for you because you just keep growing the problem. And as you grow the problem, you don't feel so good. Well, in these days that we are together, we would like that to be an easy thing that changes within you. We would like you, instead of feeling unhappy with yourself because you've created a problem, and unhappy with yourself that you don't feel good because of the problem, we would like you to feel appreciative of your problems in the way that we are appreciative of your problems, so that you then could pivot to the solution. So the pivoting process is, well, I know what I don't want. What is it that I do want? But the thing about that is, by the time you've created a really good problem, you don't have access to the vibration of the really good solution, because the problem was what's all activated within you. And you and your beloved, and we mean that, law of attraction, are in the process of growing the problem, growing the problem, growing the problem, growing the problem. And you might say, okay, I've read enough books. I know enough about this. I'm done growing the problem. I'm going to look at the solution of this problem. I want the answer to this question. I really want something different than what I've got, because what I've got is not pleasing me in this way and this way and this way. And then you beat up on yourself all over again, because you realize that you're still sort of stuck to, engaged with, married to, having the experience of the problem. And so you've got to find some way. We've got a way, we'll tell you. You've got to find some way, and you've got to practice it until you've shown yourself that it's a viable tool for you. You've got to find some way to disengage from this active momentum expectation of the problem. You got to find some way of disengaging. And you can't do it just by saying, "Be gone, problem." Because when you say no to something that you don't want, it just comes closer to you and says, "How do you like me now?" "I like you even less now than I did a minute ago. Go away again." "Well, now how do you like me?" Because I'm willing to get as big as you are. willing to focus me into being. And we're not mocking you in any way, you know. Those problems that you are willing to focus into being are the basis for the expansion of all of the universe, because this commensurate thing that we're talking about, when you identify a problem, you create a solution. But we want you to find a faster route for you to the solution. You know what happens? As this body of people, this mass consciousness on planet Earth is having all of its exposure to one another and creating all of these things that you might call good and bad, wanted and unwanted. As you're focused upon life here, you are creating a vibrational reality that future generations will benefit from. New beings will be born into their physical bodies in your time and space. And because they don't have the habit of the problem, they'll be born right into the solution. And because they are vibrationally matched to the source within them, they'll find access to your collective consciousness vortex of creation. They will. That's why the little ones don't want to listen to you. They know you're problem oriented. And they will be too in time, because that's really what you all have signed on for. But don't you think it would be a wonderful thing if you didn't have to wait for a future generation to receive the solutions that you've created while you've been growing your problems? Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if you could be part of the group of beings who is growing the problem and the solution? And wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if you could find a way of, once it has grown sufficiently large enough to delight you, once your problem has grown sufficiently enough that you have created a magnificent growth spurt of a solution, wouldn't it be nice if you, the generation, the individual, the part of mass consciousness that has given birth to the solution, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if you could pivot to the solution? If you could be those who reap the benefit of what life caused you to carve out? And do you know how few existing humans who are creating such magnificent things allow themselves to do that? You see them, you call them things like masters, you call them enlightened, you call them genius, you call them spectacular athletes. You see them, but they stick out in their rareness, because most people let law of attraction have its way with you, with no utilization of your guidance system to do the pivot and to switch over to the solution from the problem. So that really is the key. That's really the key to really living happily. That's the key to deliberate creation. The key to deliberate creation is understanding that you have to have some contrast in order to ask for more. And more is what we are all about. The continuation of existence, not the elimination of existence. It will never be eliminated. It will always continue. The question is, are you going along with the solution that you've created while you've been exploring the contrast of the problem? And the answer to that for the majority of humans on the planet is no, I'm not going along. I'm part of the step one process. Step one is contrast causes you to ask. Step two is you launch a solution into this vibrational reality, and your inner being joins the vibration of the solution and holds a steady focus upon it so that it's there for someone who gets into the receiving mode to receive. Is it going to be you? Maybe. Is it going to be a future generation? For sure. Is it going to be you related to your own things that you're asking for? Maybe. It depends upon your ability to cease the resistant thought that is keeping you vibrationally apart from the solution. Do you understand what we're saying?
Don't forget to leave a positive message and subscribe.